And I sent it to you first. We've got sun shining in here, so that's there we go. Good winter sun, good morning.
A big blessing.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. Okay, let me get onto my.
I sent you the tefillah that will be saying at the end of the shir.
Okay.
So you have to post it.
I will post it. Same host. Okay. Okay. Right, let me just have a look. Thanks, Dal. I was actually just speaking to, where's Dalia? I was just talking to Lana Hershevitz in Zichron, who's going to join us. Who is going to join us in Israel from Zichron Yaakov Rebbetzin. But we're very excited.
That's great. Hi.
And Sanders also coming, but he's sending Candace instead of him coming. I'm joking.
Very good. Okay, hi.
Yeah, very exciting.
I'm very excited to see you all in person. I want to give everybody a hug. So everybody from this year has to come with Rabbits and Dove to Eretz Yisrael in 2 weeks. And
no.
Next
Sunday a week we coming.
Okay, that's 2 weeks, like a week and a half.
I don't know. It's already Shabbos, Rebbetzin.
I know. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay. I look like you look the same as my grandmother's sister. Oh, thank you. I don't know how to say your name. Ayana Viho. Where are you from on the YouTube? No, I'm talking
I was going to say not on the script.
Okay. It means I look old if I look like her grandmother's sister. She's from
No,
Canada.
she could look very young, Rebbetzin.
Her grandmother. She's from Canada.
Yeah, that's okay. You don't know how old she is, and the grandmother could be, it's 16, 18, 16, 18.
That's true. I'm a grandmother, so that's okay. I'm I'm very blessed to really be a bubby. In fact, I always joke around with my grandchildren that they usually call me during this year. Every Wednesday and Thursday when I'm on Zoom, while I'm in class, if I'm in class, I don't mind. The girls already know, the women already know that I answer my grandchildren. But on Zoom, it's a little, when you have an emergency and I'm on Zoom, I have to. Okay, so a little bit of a plug for Rabbits and Dove's trip. Everybody who has ever been on one of her trips knows that she does above and beyond. The trip is the expectation. Whatever your expectations are, you get much more than you could ever even dream of. And so I'm going to be blessed and privileged to join you on Tuesday, Bezrat Hashem, and we're going to go touring the whole Israel. We're going to go down to the south, and we'll experience the air of the south, Bezrat Hashem, and all the different places to pray, and we'll have a whole day together. So join, and if you're here in Israel and you want to just join for a day, let me know, and we can sign you up for just one day. The people from Ramat Beit Shemesh, if you want to take a day off from your life, give your kids away to somebody, and come down south with us to have a prayerful experience. Bezrat Hashem, you can come. And also the people who are going to be listening to this class a little bit later on, right? Are you going to be doing that? Rebbetzin Dov, what you told me before? You're going to send this to
it's for tonight, yeah.
Okay. So anybody who's listening in the class tonight, in the class tonight, you're all invited. I'm not paying for you, but you're invited to come and join us. I would love to see you in person. Come with all of your prayers written down. I'm going to tell you, Bezrat Hashem, we'll be there next week. Those people I can tell you actually now also, those people who are coming. The truth is, this is an important practice for everyone to do. and this is a teaching from the Tzaddik. Write your own prayers. Write your own, personal prayers. Write them down. Take a nice notebook and have a journal of prayers. That's exactly what King David did in the book of Tehillim. Write down the prayers, your own personal prayers, and read them. It's easier to read them than to compose them on the spot. Hitbodedut is when you compose them on the spot, and you could read your own personal prayers, and certainly bring those prayers to Eretz Yisrael with you if you're coming, so that you could read them in the holy places. Okay, so we're in a very interesting time of the Jewish calendar year. So instead of learning Tehillim today, we're going to talk about Jewish calendar, and the truth is it's a calendar for the entire world. So if you're not Jewish, it's also okay. We're going to talk about the date of tomorrow. Tomorrow is called the 10th day of Tevet, the 10th day of the Hebrew calendar date Tevet. Tevet, which is the 10th month of the Jewish calendar year, starting from Nisan. So believe it or not, we have 2 more months left, Tevet, Shvat, and Adar, and all of a sudden it's Pesach already. I know you can't believe it, but the biblical year is almost coming to an end. We have 2 Rosh Hashanahs. We have the Rosh Hashanah at the beginning of the year in September-ish, when we have the month of Tishrei and the high holy days. That's what we call them, right? And that's when the calendar year begins. So the year in Hebrew, 5785, begins in the month of Tishrei, but the biblical calendar year begins in the month of Nisan, the month of Pesach. And that's the beginning of the Jewish nation's, our birthday as a nation. So we're in the 10th month. And so in the book of Yecheskel, chapter 24, first 2 verses, it says like this: Vayhi devar Hashem Elai. Yecheskel, who was prophesying, he was already in Bavel because he went 11 years before the destruction of the first temple. He said, Vayhi devar Hashem Elai b'shana haTshi'it b'chodesh ha'asiri. In the 9th year, in the 10th month, Be'esor lachodesh, and on the 10th day of the 10th month, which is starting tomorrow. And here's what Hashem says to him: Ben Adam. Ben Adam was the special name that Hashem gave to the prophet Yecheskel. Yecheskel in English is called Ezekiel. Ben Adam means person or man, and it means a high level human. Ben Adam, son of man. K'tav lecha et shem hayom ve'et etzem hayom hazeh. Write down Shem Hayom, the name of the day, et etzem hayom hazeh, this very day. Samach melech Bavel el Yerushalayim be'etzem hayom hazeh. In this very day, the king of Bavel, who the pasuk doesn't name, but his name is Nebuchadnezzar. In this very day, he made a matzor. He surrounded the city of Jerusalem. Now, I'm privileged to be learning with you from the city of Jerusalem. So right now, all of you, because we're all, as the Baal Shem Tov taught, the head of Chassidut taught, we're all where our mind is. So right now, I'm looking up at the skies of Jerusalem, and I'm bringing you to Jerusalem. Jerusalem now is a sprawling city. It's a gigantic city. And biblical Jerusalem was surrounded by walls, and it was in a little bit in the same location. Right now, where I am is in the suburbs of Jerusalem. I'm not in the heart of town, nor am I in the heart of the old city of Jerusalem, my location now. But we're in the suburbs that's still considered Jerusalem. And Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Bavel, who decided that he wants to conquer the entire Middle East. So, and he was actually on a warpath. He was traveling. He was on the way to conquer Egypt, and he needed to go through Israel. And he decided to conquer Israel also. So he sent, and we were very stubborn. This is the Babylonian exile, which was very quickly taken over by the Persian exile, which was then taken over by the Greek exile, and then which was taken over by the Roman exile, of which we're at the very, very end of right now. So the Babylonian exile, so Nebuchadnezzar surrounded the city of Jerusalem in the winter, middle of the winter. He didn't let food in, he didn't let humanitarian aid, no humanitarian aid for the defenseless Jews of Jerusalem who had done nothing to deserve being conquered. They were just, in biblical days, I think Rabbi Sinzav, you have to mute yourself. Somebody has to mute herself. In biblical days and in the days of the prophets, everyone, it was, lots of wars going on in the world for ridiculous reasons, as really all wars are for ridiculous reasons. It's all ego. Very few wars are truly defense. Here in Israel, our wars are truly defense. We didn't start any of the wars that we've been engaged in for the past 75 years. Not one war did we start. It's been imposed on us. Every single war has been imposed on us, and we're just trying to defend ourselves. And the fact that God is on our side and allows us to do so annoys the majority of the world. The majority of the world likes dead Jews. They have no problem eulogizing Jews and saying, how sad it was. They are very happy when they can make a statement of sympathy about a dead Jew. But we're no longer interested in that. God is no longer interested in that. And our exile is coming to an end. And so we're able to succeed in the wars that we have to defend ourselves. But again, most wars in the world are caused by jealousy, by ego, by power, of people who want to have more. They want to impose their religion. They want to impose their opinion on other people. Okay, so that's what happened today. Thousands of years ago, 3,000 plus years ago, Nebuchadnezzar surrounded the city of Jerusalem, and in 2.5 years later, he broke through the walls of Jerusalem. We had enough food and provisions for 2.5 years, and 2.5 years later, on the 17th day of Tammuz in the summer, he broke through he opened the walls of Jerusalem, and then on the 9th of Av, he destroyed the first Beis Hamikdash. Just to show you the how do I say this? The hardness of soul of Nebuchadnezzar. Now, you can't destroy Jews unless you're a great soul, but like Paro. But you have to have a great soul in the area of negativity, meaning a powerful soul. Anyone who ever was permitted by God to harm the Jewish people had a powerful soul. However, they chose to take that soul and to use it in the service of evil. And so when Nebuchadnezzar and his armies entered the Beis Hamikdash, entered the temple, which is from where I'm sitting 20 minutes with no traffic, east of here. So when he entered, had he had a little bit of spiritual sensitivity, had Nebuchadnezzar had a little bit of godliness in him remaining, then he would have been in awe, because the temple of Solomon, the temple that Shlomo HaMelech built, was a place of prayer for all people, not just Jews, but the non-Jewish world always came to the temple of Solomon, and they felt God's presence if they had a sensitivity towards goodness, towards charitableness, towards compassion, and towards godliness. The fact that Nebuchadnezzar could come in and do what he did and burn and destroy showed us the absolute lack of humanness in his being. The same thing now with all murderers and all terrorists and all people who kill and harm. The people who are stupid and they just scream and yell free Palestine, things like that. Okay, they're ignorant. They just don't know what's going on here. They don't understand history. They don't understand the reality on the ground. But people who actually lift their hand and kill another human being, or kill another Jew. They have lost their humanity and they don't see the godly image that is on every human being. So on the 10th of Teves today, all those years ago, we had this beginning of the beginning of the fourth fast. We have four fasts written in the prophets. The fourth fast referring to the exile. The fast starts today, begins the 10th of Teves, and then the 17th of Tammuz in the summer, then Tisha B'av, the 9th of Av, and then the Gimel Tishrei, the third day of Tishrei, which is the day after Rosh Hashanah, which is when Gedaliah, the Jew who had been left here in charge of trying to keep a certain semblance of Jewish presence here in the land of Israel, he was murdered. And again, it was a terrible, terrible story. These four fast days are called the fast days, revolving around the destruction of the temple and the fast days that are connected to exile. And the first is today. This is the first of the fast days. And as everyone here knows, if you've ever embarked in anything, you know, kol hatchalot kashot, which means all beginnings are difficult. If you're starting a new life story, a new life plan, a new diet, a new health exercise routine, you're moving to a new neighborhood, you're in a new marriage, a new relationship, a new job, anything new in the beginning is difficult until you adjust, until etc. But how you act in the beginning has an influence on the entirety of that structure. So that Rosh Hashanah, we're so careful not to sleep and not to do anything improper because Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, influences the entire year. And Rosh Chodesh, every beginning of every new lunar month, every new Jewish month, we are very careful on that day. We have certain halacha of extra prayers on that day because how you begin something has tremendous effect on the entirety of that structure. You know, they say that first impressions are so strong, it's very, very hard to undo a first impression. And it's very hard to, so therefore it's imperative to introduce into every beginning as much positivity as you can. So, and the same thing happens in the negativity, meaning today's the first of the fast, so it's a very strong day. It's a strong day of sadness. Tomorrow I'm talking about, the 10th of Teves. So let's talk a few things in halacha, then we'll talk about hashkafa, then we'll talk about what you should be doing tomorrow. So in terms of halacha, the 10th of Teves is the most unusual. It's the shortest in hours of all the fast days. Here in Israel, it's from 5, basically from 5, it's about 12 hours, from 5 a.m. until 5:15 p.m., right? Because it's a very short day. The winter days are short. But the interesting, so you would think that it's a minor fast, which, by the way, it is if you don't feel well, if you're pregnant, if you're taking medication, if you have to lie down, then you can ask your rabbi, what are your obligations on this day in terms of fasting. Certainly, someone who is not well does not have to fast. But on one hand, it's a minor fast. On the other hand, it's a major fast in the following: it's the only fast that is similar to Yom Kippur, in that if the calendar ever allowed for the 10th of Tevet to come out on Shabbat, we would have to fast on Shabbat. The only time we ever fast on Shabbat is when Yom Kippur comes out on Shabbat. Then we fast. We don't push it off till Sunday, even if Tisha B'av, the 9th of Av, or Shivat, or any of the other fast days, if they ever come out on Shabbat, we never fast on Shabbat. We push it to Sunday. If it's Tanis Esther, we push it back. We makdim it. We make it earlier to Thursday. But if the 10th of Tevet could fall out on Shabbat, we would have to fast. Now, why isn't that relevant? Is because the rabbis established a calendar. Now we have a fixed calendar. In biblical times, when we had a Beis Hamikdash, we had an activated temple, and we had the Sanhedrin, we had the Jewish High Court. So then we didn't have a calendar. Every single month, you had to wait until there was the shofar blast when they told you that today's Rosh Chodesh. And how did they determine Rosh Chodesh? There were witnesses there were certain tzaddikim who that was their job. They stood at a certain point in the Harabait, in the Temple Mount, and they kept there. They knew they counted 29 days from the last month, and they kept looking all night long when the moon would appear. As soon as they saw the moon, they ran to the Sanhedrin, to the high court that was sitting in Jerusalem, right outside the old city, right outside the temple, and they would describe the moon, where it was, what they saw, and they would decree that is Rosh Chodesh. That's how Rosh Chodesh was always decreed. But when we went into exile, when we had no longer an operational temple, the rabbis calculated the calendar from now until forever, from then until forever. And so the way they set the calendar up was that it can never happen that 10th of Tevet falls out on Shabbat. However, it's the only fast day that can come out, like this year, on Friday. So tomorrow there's a fast day. It begins early in the morning, begins by the dawn. Alot HaShachar, look in your local calendar. It'll tell you what time it begins, wherever you are. A non-Jew does not have to fast on this day. A non-Jew who wants to join with the Jewish people can fast in other ways, meaning they can choose to take upon themselves to eat less. They can choose to take upon themselves to speak only positive words and to give charity. A Jew can also be posed, can redeem the fast. If for some reason they cannot fast, they can be posed, they can redeem it with charity and with making another type of fast, like a Tanit Dibur, like a fast of speech. That you have to ask your local Orthodox rabbi how to do that. However, after the class is over, Rabbi Sindom will announce after the class is over what time the times of the fast are, because I see she has the calendar. So now, the fast is not like Yom Kippur in that Yom Kippur starts the night before, and it's a 25, 26-hour fast. But 10th of Tevet starts in the morning, but it falls out on Friday. Now, there's a halacha that you might not have known, and that is generally we're not allowed to fast on Friday. Why? Because you're not supposed to go into Shabbat starving. So even though you're not allowed to, you don't have to stuff yourself on Friday, but the law is you have to enter into Shabbat. We take Shabbat in early. We always take Shabbat in early, and we should take Shabbat in with pleasure. In other words, we shouldn't be starving. We shouldn't be fasting on Friday. We shouldn't be, and certainly if we fast, there are certain people who fast on Friday, but they eat in the morning, or they'll eat in the afternoon, but they won't eat in the morning, for whatever their reasons. But we enter into Shabbat always not starving, not like we have to rush to make Kiddush and to sanctify the day and quickly eat the meal. We have to make Shabbat a beautiful day, a pleasant day, a comfortable day. However, tomorrow we're going to enter into Shabbat fasting. Yeah, we're going to enter into Shabbat fasting. For those who will fast and want to do the whole thing, right? They will fast until women will light their candles while fasting, if they're fasting, and will not break the fast until Kiddush of Friday night, which is why no one tomorrow night, none of the shuls, even though, let's say, for example, many synagogues, many shuls, many services, when they make Shabbat the regular time, and then the rabbi gives a class, and they daven the evening prayer, the Arvit, the Ma'ariv, the evening prayer. They daven a little bit late, they pray a little bit late, but tomorrow night no one's going to do that at all. They're going to all pray the earliest time that we can pray the evening prayer and go home and make the Shabbat meal. So that's a halacha. That's in terms of the law. There are some people who like to daven mincha early. Some people like to daven mincha late. Here in Eretz Yisrael, we try to daven mincha close to the Shkia on Friday afternoon, so that we go straight into Kabbalat Shabbat. And that depends really on the shul that you go to. Okay. The reason that it's such an important fast, even though it's the shortest, is because it says these words, Etzem Hayom Hazeh, this very day. It says it in the book of Yechezkel twice, that on this very day, and in the Torah, in the Chumash, in the Bible, it says about Yom Kippur also, Etzem Hayom Hazeh, Tanut Nafshotechem. On this very day, you should fast. And so because there's a connection between this expression, this very day, in Navi, in the prophet, Yechezkel, and this very day in Chumash, that's how our rabbis explain that if it would come out on Shabbat, we would have to fast. That's the similarity between Aseret B'Teves, the 10th of Teves, and Yom Kippur. Okay. Now you should know something. Today is the 9th of Tevet, and today is the yard site of Ezra HaSofer. So we have 3 days really of in the month of Tevet. The 8th of Tevet, the 9th of Tevet, and the 10th of Tevet. The 8th of Tevet is when Ptolemy, the king of Egypt, commanded the Jewish people, commanded he kidnapped 70 of the greatest Torah scholars. He kidnapped them and he brought them to Alexandria in Egypt, which was then a source of a city of scholarship, and he put them each in a different room with a Sefer Torah and said, translate this into Greek. And the miracle was that every single of the rabbis, they were all in separate rooms, isolation. They exactly translated every word for word, from Hebrew into Greek, the exact same translation. The sad part of that was that now the Torah, the written Torah, only the Chumash, the 5 books of Moses, was translated into Greek, so that it became accessible to the secular world. So you might say, well, that's good. We have everything translated now into English, etc. But that translation, on a certain level, legitimized Greek as a language to be spoken and to learn, and it began to create a certain level of assimilation. The Jewish people in the Torah, God says to us, Hein am levadad yishkon. We dwell alone. We can't assimilate. That's why the world, Hashem, every once in a while, God, every once in a while, brings anti-Semitism to remind us that we don't fit in, we don't belong, we don't intermarry, we don't we don't assimilate the culture and the attitude and the mindset of the nations of the world. We have our own, and we're supposed to be a light to the nations of the world and to teach them not to assimilate and to absorb their ideas. And so on the 8th, yesterday, on the 8th of Teves, all those years ago, the Torah was translated into Greek. Now, again, it was very miraculous, because had it not been translated perfectly, word for word, into every single word was the same, then the rabbi, then the whatever the Egyptian Ptolemy would have begun to criticize and to critique and to uh, make fun of the Torah. Instead, he was amazed that every single one wrote the exact same thing, and they had to make adjustments to their translation because, as you know, I just translated one of the prayers that the rabbi and the Tzaddik Hayinuka made up, which we'll share with you at the end of the class. It's very hard to translate Hebrew. Hebrew is a very, very beautiful language, and it's hard to translate into English. And my mother tongue is English. I grew up speaking English before I began speaking Hebrew. And so, even so, it's very hard to find the exact word because the words in Hebrew are so full, it's hard to translate. Certainly the Chumash, not just a translation of a prayer. Okay, so the 10th of Teves, the 9th of Teves today is the yard site of Ezra HaSofer. Ezra HaSofer was the one who the Torah says, if Moshe Rabbeinu's soul hadn't been created, and if the Torah had not been given through Moses, it would have been given through Ezra HaSofer. Ezra HaSofer was the one who had the very difficult job of gathering all the Jews back. Ezra HaSofer lived in the time of Mordechai and Esther, and it was a time when the second Beis HaMikdash was already built, and he had the job of trying to get all the Jews back to the land of Israel. He was like the Jewish agency, Nefesh B'Nefesh, of course, in the Torah version of it, and he had a hard time. Not everybody came back to the land of Israel. And a lot of people had married Babylonian wives and had assimilated, and there was a lot of intermarriage, and he had to deal with that. But Ezra HaSofer, they say about him that he was such a powerful, beautiful, amazing tzaddik that he was able to, with a lot of love and a lot of compassion, help everyone to be in the place that they needed to be. And today's is yard site. Whenever there's a yard site of a tzaddik, whenever there's a yard site of a righteous person, when you begin to learn about that righteous person and begin to try to imitate the good deeds of that righteous person, then the soul of that righteous person has an influence on you, and it dwells within you for a little bit and allows you to succeed in your daily tasks. But the most important thing that I want to tell you about, the most relevant thing, are two things. First thing is that 10th of Tevet, which comes at tomorrow, the fast day, was the beginning of the process of exile for the Jewish people, the beginning of the process of the exile for the Jewish people. And um, and that exile culminated in the worst tragedy called the Holocaust. The Holocaust in our since we lived in that time, we know people who lived through the Holocaust. We know we have right. You had your precious Lily, your Bubby Lily there, who who just took off to the next world, would tell you stories, and you have people who the Holocaust is like the culmination really of the exile. And after the Holocaust begins the redemption. So believe it or not, even though the horrificness, we don't understand God, and no created being could ever have the audacity to even consider understanding the reasons that God does things. We can't understand God. And anyone who even thinks that they could, sorry to disappoint you, but you're not able to. Even when we think we understand. Let's say you do a good deed and then something good happens to you right afterwards. You think, oh, look at that. I did a good deed and God did me back a good deed. Even that's not accurate. We can't understand the workings of the Creator. So we don't understand how is it that the Holocaust gave birth to the state of Israel. And you should know something. You know me, I'm not a fan of the government here. But the bottom line is that after the Holocaust, we came back to the land of Israel, and it's under Jewish jurisdiction. We have a Jewish army and Jewish currency and Jewish everything. And there's no other country could tell us what to do. Now they're trying, and we're hanging in there for the next 2 weeks to see if we can survive until we have a better big brother in terms of America to try to help us to get to the next stage of redemption. But whatever it is, the chief rabbinate after World War II decreed and decided that tomorrow, the 10th of Teves, and this starts tonight. The fast doesn't start tonight, but this, what I'm about to tell you, starts tonight. Is that the tonight and tomorrow is called the Yom HaKadish HaKlali, which means people who perished in the Holocaust, whom we don't know the day of their yard site. We don't know the day that they perished. And we don't know when to say Kaddish for them. We don't know when to light a candle for them. So tonight and tomorrow, is the Kaddish for all the 6 million who died in the Holocaust. And in every single shul that follows this custom, because this is a custom that was just now created. It was a custom that was created by the rabbinate, the chief rabbinate, and not everyone is a fan of the chief rabbinate. Generally, in the Haredi world, we take Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, as the Yom Kaddish, as the day of the yard site for all for the 6 million, and that's why in the keynotes that we say, the keynotes are the prayers that we say in memory and to wake up our hearts to want to come back to God. Those prayers that we say on Tisha B'Av include a prayer written by the Kleisenberger Rebbe, who survived the Holocaust, and by the Baba Rebbe, who survived the Holocaust, prayers for the 6 million. But in the Rabbanut, official Rabbanut, they'll be saying the Kaddish tonight and tomorrow for anyone in the 6 million. Yom HaKaddish, HaKlali, the general Kaddish. And why didn't they make a new day? Because we have a tradition that we do not add sad days to the calendar. We have enough sad days. We don't want to add an official sad day to the calendar. Okay, and now finally, we're going to learn in Hasidus. We're going to learn what's the energy of today, of tomorrow. The Chasam Sofer, the great tzaddik from Hungary, said that like this. He said that if you notice, we have a Yom Hadin on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Hadin for life. On Tu B'Shvat, the Yom Hadin for the fruit trees, the Day of Judgment for fruit trees. On the Kleisenberger Rebbe, Shulamit, and the Baba Rebbe. Look at the back of the kinos. If you look at the back of the kinos, you'll see that their kinos they added in extra kinos.
Thank you.
So the again, so Rosh Hashanah is the Yom Hadin, the day of judgment for life, for the whole world. Tu B'Shvat Yom is coming up soon. Tu B'Shvat Yom Hadin for fruit trees, and the Rosh Hashanah for fruit trees. And the Nisan is a Yom Hadin for kings and for tithing. And so there's different days of judgment all year long. The day of judgment. So the Chafetz Sofer says that there should also be a day of judgment for the building of the Beis Hamikdash. Right? When is the building of the Beis Hamikdash? When is Hashem judging to build the temple? So he explains that the 10th day of the month of Tevet, tomorrow, is every single year. It's the day of judgment. Hashem decides whether this upcoming year, from this Tevet to next Tevet, will have the third and final temple. So guess what? Unless the temple comes down now it really could, because we know that Rashi says in the Talmud that the temple is going to come down already built. We don't have to do anything. It's going to be something that's so supernatural and miraculous. Just like we didn't have to do anything to split the Red Sea. Hashem did it, and we walked through it, we experienced it. And we were looking around, and we couldn't believe it. So we're going to look up, and the temple's going to descend. So I'll let you know, believe neder, I'll send you a text quickly on my chat if the temple descends today before nightfall. But if it doesn't, God forbid, then it means that last year on the 10th of Teves, God decreed that this year, the last year, wasn't the year of the temple. And we're hoping that he's going to decree tomorrow that the temple will be built this year, will be brought down to us this year. So how are we going to participate in the building of the temple? So when you're a little kid, or when your kids are in kindergarten, they teach you a truth. It's a Kabbalistic truth, but they teach it in such a cute way for children. And they teach them, and they say every time a Jewish person does a mitzvah, they're building another brick, they're placing another brick in the temple. They're creating another energy, another force that brings down the Beit HaMikdash, that brings down the temple. And every time we utter another prayer, another bracha, another blessing, another charitable act, another act of heroism, another act of godliness, another studying of Torah, another Torah class, another supporting of a Torah class, all the different mitzvot that we do, supporting the men who are learning Torah, living in the land of Israel. Every second is a mitzvah here. So whenever you do a mitzvah, we're creating the energy, we're putting in another, as it's like the idea is putting another brick in the wall of the Beis HaMikdash. You might say, how many bricks does the Beis HaMikdash have, right? How many mitzvot, how many good deeds have we been doing? How many commandments of God have Jews been fulfilling the last thousands of years? Untold numbers. Because remember that if you do a mitzvah, if you do a commandment, if you fulfill Shabbat, and it's easy for you, that's amazing. But if you fulfill Shabbat and it's challenging and it's hard for you, then what you just contributed is so much more profound and so much more valuable than if I'm lucky. My whole life I kept Shabbat. I'm very, very grateful that I was born into a family of Shomer Shabbat. My parents, they sacrificed hard to keep Shabbos in America when they first came from Europe to America. For them, America was like a whole new planet. But I'm lucky I came to Shabbos my whole life. So for me, and I love Shabbos. So for me, my keeping of Shabbos is on a certain level. But your keeping of Shabbos, if there's a person here who their keeping of Shabbos is challenging, maybe because they're just starting to keep Shabbat, maybe because they don't know all the rules of how to keep Shabbat. So their contribution to building the Beis HaMikdash is so much more great. And so that's what the Chafetz Sofer says. That's why we would, in case 10th of Teves could come out on Shabbat, which again it can't because of the calendar, but if it did, theoretically, one of the reasons we would fast is the following. He said, why do we fast on Yom Kippur, Shabbat? Why do we fast on Yom Kippur? because Yom Kippur is about the future. We never fast on the past on Shabbat. If it's something that happened in the past, something sad that happened, Shabbat overpowers that. But if it's something for the future, a prayer for the future, then Shabbat wants, we have pleasure on Shabbat for fasting if we know that the fasting that we're doing is actually accomplishing something for the future. So, for example, something interesting that you might not know is that, let's say a person has a very, very disturbing dream on Shabbat, Friday night or Shabbos morning, and it's of the category that's mentioned in the Talmud, then you have to run to the rabbi and the shul, and if you choose to fast on that day of Shabbat because you want to sweeten, you want to ameliorate the negativity of that dream, then your fasting on Shabbat is actually pleasurable for you because you know that you're accomplishing something for your own benefit. So, and that's a very tricky halacha law. You have to, I hope it should never happen to anybody that they have such a disturbing dream that they really want to fast for it. But that's the law. So, on the reason that we could fast on the 10th of Tevet, if it would to fall on Shabbat, which again it doesn't, but it could if it did, is because the 10th of Tevet is a fast for the future. Because what we're saying is, Hashem, we want you to decree finally to make an end to the exile. And we know that we're not any better than anybody else in the past, but we just can't handle it anymore. You saw 3 beautiful boys this morning. They put their pictures up, who were murdered, who were killed. So we can't anymore. It's too much. It's just too much. The family, it's just too much. So we're begging Hashem. Well, I mean, I could say it. It's too much. Hashem could say what he wants, but we're asking Hashem to please this year decree that we should have the building of the third temple, and so therefore, and that's what's decreed on Shabbat. And maybe we might say, well, who am I? What are my prayers? What's the big deal? But you never know. It says that box of prayers that Hashem has, that giant box of prayers, it has to fill up in order for Mashiach to come. Do you know that your prayer isn't the one that's going to make it happen? You don't know. Maybe it doesn't have to be the greatest prayer in the world, but it has to be. It just has to be there. So pray tomorrow that the Beis Hamikdash, in your own words. Now I'm going to read to you a prayer. I chose a prayer out of the prayers that Nikolai Rav wrote, and I'm going to read it to you.
I've sent it to as many people as I can privately on their messages.
So can you put it up? Okay, you know how to do that?
I wish I knew how. Does anybody else know how?
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's a plus. There's a plus sign on the chat. So when you go into the chat, you'll see a little plus sign on the left. So you click on the plus and then you add the image.
Yeah, but the image has to be.
So you need to go into your phone and save the image in your photo camera roll, and then.
Can you do that for us?
Let me see if I can find it. Did you send it to me, Joanne?
I'm going to give you host to claim. If you just go claim.
I don't need to be host. It's okay.
I sent it to you. I sent it to you.
Okay.
Okay. There goes Katie. Thank you so much. Now, Katie, put the Hebrew on also. Did you send the Hebrew?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so good. Let's do it. Katie, see, Katie's all in action. No, she just did it. Well, let's see if I can find it. Okay, so let's do the Hebrew first, okay? Because the Hebrew, and you'll see how hard it was for me to translate this. I just did this very quickly, and this is definitely not an official, definitely not officially approved translation by the Rabbinical Council that approves whatever I translate for them. But here's the prayer. I'll say it in Hebrew because I want you to say it in Hebrew, and if you need to say it in English, then say it in English. Let's see, Katie's there. You go, Katie. Now everybody can put your finger on that thing, on the picture that she did, and make it bigger. You see how to do that? And then you can turn your phone sideways so that you can see it going across. Thank you so much. Tizkila mitzvot. You have now all the mitzvot on your. Now all the ladies who want this, first of all, send me. Okay, so I didn't put it up on the YouTube because I don't know how to do that. Sorry. So people on the YouTube can send me a. Can send to the YouTube. Can send a. Let's see. I don't know how to do that. You can tell me how to do that. I don't know how to put this prayer up on the YouTube. You can send a request, and then let's see. Okay, I'm just going to read it to you and translate. Master, Ribono Shalom. It's good to say in Hebrew. Ribono Shalom, Master of the world. Avi, Abba Rachaman. Now, when I translated this, I was like, it sounds very Christian because the Christians took so much from us, but Avi means my father, you're my daddy, you're my papa, you're my Abba. Abba Rachaman, you're the merciful father. Hashem et kol haolam kulo elecha yitbarach shimcha. May your name be blessed. Restore the whole world, all the people in the world, bring them back to you. How do you do that? By showing that you're the king. Now, I didn't write it like that, but by showing you all the king, by showing you that you're the king, by showing the world that you're the king, then the whole world will come back to you. Now listen, there's so many tefillot that I could have picked. I just picked the shortest one, believe it or not. Avraham ben Yoni Yaakov. Okay, that's yard site of Avraham ben Yoni Yaakov. Wow, he has the same yard site as Ezra Sofer.
Yeah,
And Aryeh ben Zev.
And that's Dahlia's brother.
Wow.
Aryeh ben Zev is on the 14th.
Wow.
Yeah.
You should have an Aliyah's Neshama, both of them.
Amen.
Okay, Hashem kol olam kulo yivlecha yitbarach shimcha. Let the whole world be restored back to you. B'tachin kisei hamalchut l'ne'im zmirot Yisrael. Now again, I didn't translate this word for word at all, so forgive me. That's why I'm going to ask you to sort of like take notes on this if you can. The Ne'im Zmirot Yisrael means the beautiful, pleasant singer of the Jewish people. That's David HaMelech. Prepare the kingship, prepare the throne for David HaMelech. V'hamshech ba'olam et or hakavod l'Mashiach tzidkenu. And then prepare the whole world so that the whole world could receive the light of Mashiach, of our righteous Mashiach. Because guess what? There's a lot of preparations necessary. If you, right now, let's say you go out and it's a very sunny day, you can't look at the sun. You have to wear sunglasses and you have to not glance directly at the sun. To prepare for Mashiach's arrival, humanity has to do tshuva. They have to do good deeds. They have to be good people. They have to be acts of kindness and acts of truth and live in an honest way, in a moral way. So the whole world needs to prepare for Mashiach's coming. Maybe that's why, in California, they're having all these wildfires. I had this morning, I have a bunch of cousins who live over there, and I asked them, are you guys okay? And one of the families had to evacuate because their house was in, I hope they should stay safe. So, and there's all the people in California, tens of thousands of families in Los Angeles area. Now, Los Angeles, forgive me, but I'm not quite sure if it's the most moral place in the world. So they're doing tshuva. The people in Los Angeles are doing tshuva. They're crying out to God, or they're crying out to whatever they're praying, or they're at least, that the Ramchal says that when a person suffers, it erases all of their sins. So they're suffering, and it's erasing their sins, and it's preparing them. Hamshech ba'olam et or hakavod, the Mashiach tzidkenu. The world has to be prepared so that when it's the light of Mashiach comes into the world, they can handle it. V'zakenu lihitgalutov v'lizkot lageulah, and let us see the revelation of Mashiach tzidkenu and the redemption of the Jewish people. V'aseh b'rachamecha shakol habriyot ba'olam yagilu v'yismechu v'yir'adu mincha yitbarach shemcha. And make it, Hashem, that all the people in the world should be happy with you, but should be in awe of you, should fear you, should be revering you. should be afraid of you, should be afraid of doing the wrong thing. And so so that your honor and your being should be revealed in the entire world. Now this is a line that we say in the Rosh Hashanah, it's in the Machzor, in the special siddur that we use for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Kol Pa'ol Ki okay, so Pa'alto, right? He puts them together. Kol Pa'ol Ki everyone who's created should know that you're the creator. And everyone should say, that only you are the king, Hashem. That Putin is not the king, and the president of the United States is not the king, and the president of China is not the king. Nobody is the king. Nobody has any power, only God. That's the whole world has to declare that. The whole world has to declare that God is the creator, the conductor, the producer, the director, the only thing that exists, and that everything else is just a puppet in his hands. And then your kingdom, Hashem, will rule over everything. And now we have the 4 code words that are the end of every holy prayer. Amen, Netzach, Sela, Va'ed. I didn't translate it, I just wrote it out in English. Amen, they all mean true. This is true and true and true and true. It's true forever. It's true for now. It's true forever. It's a validation. It's a verbalization, a vocalization of the fact that everything that I just said, I believe in, and I want to believe in, and I want to inculcate it into my soul. And it's an actual absolute truth in this world. There are so many people who don't believe in absolute truth, but this is an absolute truth. And he says it at the end of every prayer, Amen, so it should be. Whatever I ask you, so it should be from now until forever. That's how I would translate that. So let's try our best to make tomorrow meaningful. Pray tomorrow, daven tomorrow. Ask for the Beis HaMikdash. Ask for this prayer. You could say it 10 times a day. You could say it over and over again. Say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, with God's name over and over again. For those of you who will fast, everybody should have an easy fast, and it should erase all of our sins. You can get up early in the morning. I see that it starts by you, what'd you say, 6:15? It's not hard to get up early and eat. Yeah, what's the time?
No, the morning actually here in London, the beginning of the fast is 6:50. That's 10 to 7.
Oh, so you have a good breakfast. Everybody get up early.
We have candle lighting is at 3:58.
Ooh, early.
And the Tanis ends at 5.
Okay. So
as they say, this is the time that everybody knows really when shul ends on a Friday night, because the men all get home very quickly for their dinner.
Okay, that's the halacha also. They're not supposed to keep anybody waiting. Okay, sweetie pies. So I really hope I see you next week. Those who are coming from the UK, those who want to join on that Tuesday. On that Tuesday, we have a few seats left in the bus, so you can put in the comments. Thank you, Katie, for that again. I'm not sure that I want to put this on the YouTube, believe it or not. So I think I won't. But maybe I would put the Hebrew, actually, and let everybody figure it out and make everybody want to learn Hebrew. Because my translation is but they'll hear it. They'll hear it in the shir. You listen to the shir. Anyway, okay, so everybody have a good Shabbos. And thank you always. Thank you so much for coming. And Bezrat Hashem, thank you, Dvar Hinda. And there should be a full shlema for the Rav. He wasn't feeling so great. Shlomi Huda ben Dalia, so he should feel better, and his wife also, Adel Bat Anat, should feel better. They both had Bezrat Hashem, and it's good. Naomi,
it should really be a zechus our learning today. Or Arya Ben Tevet has been sponsored by Dalia and family, and Ezra Hashem, we should really only have simchas. And Dalia is traveling to a place called Mexico for her niece's wedding,
Ooh.
which is on the Sunday, and that's her late brother's daughter.
Wow,
So she's
wow.
having, yeah. So
Wow.
it's beautiful.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov, mazel tov, mazel tov. Okay, wait, let me say hi to everybody. Hi again, Rebbetzin Dov. Hi, Jenny. We miss you here. Hi, Marcel. We miss you here also. Hi, Yehuda. We miss you here also, but you're here. Hi, Rosalind. It's good to see you. And hi, Dahlia again. Mazel tov, and thank you for the sponsorship and your brothers. Well, everybody in your family who needs an Aliyas Neshama should have the biggest Aliyas Neshama. And hi, Sarala. I see you driving. Hi, Geraldine. It's good to see you. And hi, Pauline. You're sitting next to each other on my screen. And hi, Nomi. It's good to see you back. Yes, thank you. We missed you, but good that you're back. And hi, Katie. Again, thank you for helping us. And hi, Shalemi. Thank you also for helping us. And hi, Mrs. Kaplan. And hi, Carmen. And hi, Zvar Hinda. Oh, people are going off the screen. Oh, you're too shy. Who didn't I say hello to? Who I see? Let me see. Zoom. I don't know who a Zoom user, but whoever Zoom user is. Yeah. Okay, everybody gets off. As soon as I say hi, they run away. Okay, everybody. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
Shabbos, good Shabbos. Thank you. Good Shabbos, everybody, and should have a fast that brings Be'ezrat Hashem Mashiach, if not before today. We're ready.
Amen.
Are you here?
Shabbat
Are you
shalom.
putting
You're
putting the tefillah on YouTube? Do you say, Robertson?
You know, I don't
Well,
know what to do.
Is that Geraldine? Geraldine,
Yeah.
I sent you one. I sent one to you.
Oh, because I've been
I
busy
did.
writing it.
Oh,
No. I
okay.
sent it to you.
Then somebody
Oh,
could
thank
put in
you.
the comments.
I sent it to you, and for anybody, we will be screening this tonight, and I will do a hafrashas challah at the end of the screening, and I will put up the tefillah as well.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos, everybody. Good Shabbos.
Okay.
Shabbat shalom.
And good Shabbos and Shabbat shalom to everybody on YouTube. And thank you for all of the beautiful comments that you made. You have your costume. You have your costume. You could wrap your hair if you feel like it on Purim. That would be fun. Okay, good Shabbos, Shabbat shalom to everybody.
Good Shabbos, Shabbat
Healthy and
shalom.
happy and a safe Shabbat.
Shabbos, good Shabbos.
Especially to the people in LA.